Chapter 13. Diana. 5:30 p.m. I parked the car in front of the house. We stopped at the entrance of the building to collect my mail, and then climbed the stairs to the first floor and entered. The house had a slight musty smell from being closed for so long. The last time I had been here had been a quick in and out. When I came to pick up the laptop, I placed the mail on the living room table and hurried to open the windows as I showed her around the house, letting in air and light. Next, I checked the mail, full of the usual ads and bills, with the occasional invitation mixed in. Still bothering to send them to me, I discarded envelopes one by one. Lilith sat on the couch next to me while I did this. When I dismissed a letter with an invitation, she asked me,
"Can I see that?"
"You can, but it's not interesting."
"What is it?"
"It's an invitation to some party." She opened the envelope.
"An art exhibition. It seems interesting."
"Do you think so? To me, it never is."
"Why?"
"Because it's always the same people there. The pseudo-intellectual elite with their grand ideas and judgments of others' work, as well as the jet-set crowd who have no talent for anything other than showing up."
"Are you saying there are never interesting people?"
"Of course not. There are interesting people, but you end up spending much more time talking to the ones that are not."
"We should go."
I glanced at her. "Why?"
"Because it would be fun, and it's clear you don't like clubs and such, and I want to see people."
"But we have to dress up and everything."
"Yes, but I can wear something of your ex's. You still have some of her clothes here, don't you?"
"I do. She didn't take everything."
"Then. You'll see, we'll get ready. You need to tidy up a bit, take a shower, shave, put on a good aftershave. I'll rummage through your closets, pick out a cute outfit for you while you're in the shower, and lay it on your bed. And in the meantime, I'm sure I'll find something for myself too. I assume you don't have anything to eat here."
"Well, I actually don't."
"Then come on, let's get ready and go out for dinner with time. Go."
And she urged me on. There was no use in arguing, and I knew it. I took underwear with me to the bathroom in my room, where I took a long and relaxing shower, leaving the main bathroom to her. I shaved calmly, attentively, giving myself importance, something I rarely did. I combed my hair carefully. I thought if I'm going out with this woman, I'd better make an effort. When I left the bathroom, the clothes she had chosen for me were on the bed. A plain black suit with a fitted jacket, a white shirt with light gray vertical stripes, and shoes. I dressed lazily. When I finished, I gave my hair another touch. Finally, I walked into the living room. Already dressed, she was waiting for me. When I saw her, I stood still, literally frozen. She had pulled her hair up, leaving only a long curl cascading down on each side of her face, below her shoulder, framing her face, but highlighting her long and elegant neck. She wore a dress that reminded me of something I had only seen Diana wear once, very low cut, accentuating her bust, in a purple satin that naturally fell along her curves, giving her an imperial yet soft look. The highlights of light on the fabric further increased the sense of fluidity, as if she was floating instead of walking. On her feet were classic Italian-style shoes, which perfectly enhanced the illusion that her legs were longer, adding to the effect of elegance. For the first time, I saw her with makeup, with black mascara and brown eyeshadow, that made her already dazzling blue eyes seem to penetrate everything they touched. The shiny brown lipstick emphasized the shape of her lips, making them even fuller. She was beautiful, stunning, and I almost didn't want to go out just so she wouldn't be embarrassed to be seen with me. She walked towards me, adjusted my shirt collar, and unbuttoned another button.
"This way you look better, more casual."
I shrugged.
"Shall we?"
We had dinner at a restaurant near the art gallery. It was already past 10:30 when we finally headed there. We showed the invitation at the entrance. As soon as we entered, she whispered in my ear.
I'm going to touch up my makeup.
And she quickly walked away, leaving me alone in a place where I didn't want to be. I looked around. I spotted the bar, walked over, sat on a high stool, and ordered a malt whiskey. I stayed facing the bar, not wanting to see anyone or be bothered. I just wanted to let time pass. Let Lilith enjoy herself, if she wanted to.
Look who they dragged in here.
A voice I hadn't heard in 10 years. It still carried the same contempt as it did on the recorded tape. It was still unmistakable. And if my night didn't show great prospects before, it had just been utterly ruined. I downed the whiskey in one gulp. I needed the anesthesia just to turn in my chair. I turned around. Hello, Diana, I said even before I saw her, as I turned, and then I saw her. And the 10 years gone by only seemed to have increased something bad in her. I still saw contempt in her eyes. She was still a beautiful woman, but her skin showed the years past. Her hair was dyed platinum blonde, which didn't look bad on her, since she had fair skin. But I much preferred to see her with her natural copper brown. She was thinner than I remembered her. She wore a tight dress, very elaborately worked in shades of Bordeaux and black, long, almost to the feet. With her was someone, but I had no idea who he was, an elegant man, middle-aged, tall with distinctly masculine and symmetrical facial features.
So, did you decide to come out from under the rock where you've been hiding?
No, actually, I didn't. I was dragged.
Dragged? How nice. I see you haven't changed at all.
I think I've changed enough, unlike you, obviously. You're almost the same.
Almost?
Yes, almost.
Why almost?
Because you're older.
You aren't getting any younger either.
No, I'm not, but unlike you, that doesn't bother me, I said with a smile. It was curious what I felt in this first face-to-face encounter after all these years. I felt that I could finally face her, and I don't say that I despised her as she did me, but I felt totally detached from her. And then Lilith enters the room and walks towards me with her usual confidence. The effect she has on everyone is noticeable as she walks through without looking at anyone. I looked away from Diana and looked at her. She smiled. She came straight to me, passed by Diana and her companion, leaned against me, hugging me, and said,
Did you miss me?
A lot, I replied. She looked at me with a mischievous look.
Good,
she said, and saying that she leaned forward and kissed me gently, ignoring and making me completely ignore everything around us. Then she backed away a bit, her face inches from mine, her eyes on mine, an expression of a girl about to do mischief, and asked,
Aren't you going to introduce me to your friends?
Of course, I said. She turned to them, allowing me to make the introductions. Darling, this is Diana Almeida, my ex-wife. And this gentleman is
Ricardo.
He hurried to greet her.
Ricardo Gomez.
I turned to them and introduced her. This is Lilith.
Lilith. Interesting name.
It's of Hebrew origin.
You are Jewish then?
You could say so, but not exactly. I think it's more a little bit of each culture that I absorb.
And what could a young woman like you have to say about the world?
A lot, you know. Age is not measured by the skin but by what one has lived, don't you think?
She didn't wait for the answer and turned to me.
Dear, shall we take a walk around?
I'm still finishing my drink. And I haven't seen Diana in 10 years. Why don't you go ahead?
Alone? You think? No, not alone.
And with that, she glanced at Ricardo in such a way that I could almost swear his knees trembled.
There could be some people ill intentions around.
Darling, I know you could handle them if there were.
But no, love. Alone. No. Only if Ricardo accompanies me and then you could talk a little with her. What do you say?
If Ricardo doesn't mind.
Of course I don't mind.
Ricardo said eagerly, perhaps even too eager.
Then let's go.
She said, linking her arm with his.
See you later, love.
And the two of them walked through the gallery. We watched them go, Diana and I. and saw them disappear among the people who gathered with informed opinions in front of the paintings. I was no longer curious to see them, let alone to meet some people with whom I would have to make small talk. I also didn't quite understand what Lilith wanted. I realized she wanted to play in some way, and I played along with her, but the goal eluded me. At this moment, I was alone with the last person in the world I wanted to talk to, and although I didn't feel as uncomfortable as I imagined when I mentally pictured this encounter, the truth was that having a conversation with her was almost impossible. I sat back down on the high stool, facing away from the bar, ordered another drink, and let myself be immersed in my thoughts. It was Diana who broke the silence.
Where did you find this girl?
Girl, that's a cute term to define her. She showed up at my door the other day. She laughed.
Fell from the sky, did she?
You could say that.
Only you. But don't you think she's, I don't know, maybe a bit young for you?
If I answered you, you might be surprised. Besides, aren't you the one who likes them younger? Actually, I'm surprised by Ricardo. How old is he? 35, 40. Isn't he too old for you? Or do you already feel that old?
Well, Ricardo is just a friend.
And does he know that? Or do you still indulge in the old habit of having affairs on the side?
So many questions. Does it bother you, what I do or don't?
No, not at all. I just wanted to understand if you've changed. But people don't change, do they? They just adapt. She laughed with a loud laugh.
No, they don't. Just look at you. You're still so deep.
It was true, she hadn't changed. And neither had I. She had adapted, after our divorce, to try to maintain a lifestyle she had become accustomed to. And I had adapted to my loneliness and seclusion. I had stopped liking people, become suspicious and selective, always using Diana as a measuring stick for anyone I knew, and I realized now that I had been wrong. Each person was unique in themselves, a unique combination of flaws and virtues, irreplaceable, even when that person wanted to be like someone else. By establishing comparison bridges, I inevitably denied any of these people the chance to reach me. There was only one Diana, and she was in front of me at this moment. Realizing all this made me laugh. I truly believed she thought I was laughing in response to her, but no, I was laughing because I realized I had spent 10 years of my life in self-imposed solitude for no reason. I don't think I am as deep as you think, I ended up replying, but tell me, who is this Ricardo?
Are you curious?
A little bit. IT would help me realize why he's so old for you.
He's the son of the owner of a real estate agency network. He's a graduate in economics. He's got money, and as you've seen, he's not bad looking at all.
Be careful. Some manhunter might be out there to steal your man.
You know I still have my talents.
I believe you do, but you're not getting any younger. And just around the corner there's always another version of you, younger, with smoother skin, and with more talents than you. And don't forget that what you want, there are others who want too.
My dear. As long as he gives me what I want, what do I care if he has 1 or 2, or a dozen lovers on the side?
She said with a voice full of irony. I would care if I were you. There comes a time when we have too much and we start discarding what we find superfluous.
And do I seem superfluous to you?
From where I stand, more and more. She felt the sting. She saw that any effect she had on me in the past had faded away. And I arrived at the same conclusion with satisfaction.
What if we go look for our matches?
She said, changing the subject. I put down the empty glass and agreed. Let's go. We wandered through the gallery, paying attention to one painting or another, not lingering in front of any for too long. I encountered familiar faces here and there, greeting me and asking the usual questions. Long time no see, what's up? Leading to the same vague answers I sought to avoid. After a while, we located the couple we were looking for. They were standing in front of a painting, talking about something. Lilith was arm in arm with him and, as always, drew all attention around her, especially Ricardo's. He looked at her directly, in a clear attempt at seduction, and whatever she said to him, he absorbed every word. She looked at him directly with that magnetic gaze, and spoke to him with a smile. It was obvious that he was completely enchanted by her. I saw the expression on Diana's face, the confident woman she used to be, who played and seduced whoever she wanted at her own pleasure, suddenly realizing her own fragility and seeing in front of her the confirmation of my words. The anger and jealousy in her eyes were noticeable. She might not find Ricardo that important, but she did find herself to be. She felt betrayed. It was transparent in her, as much as the way she tried to maintain composure. For the first time, I realized her fragility. She, who had always been so grand, was actually so hollow that a small thing could make her crumble inside. And I found myself wondering how I could have given her so much importance for so long. Lilith whispered something in Ricardo's ear, as if there had been a long-standing complicity between them. Diana couldn't contain herself and approached them.
So,
she said with a sarcastic tone.
Having fun?
Yes. Ricardo is excellent company and a true gentleman.
I know. That's why I like him so much.
You better treat him well.
And saying this, she looked directly into Ricardo's eyes and said,
Someone might always want to steal him from you.
Ricardo bit his lip. I chuckled inwardly. Fury and jealousy flashed in Diana's eyes.
Don't worry, it wouldn't be me for sure.
Ricardo's disappointment was visible. She let go of him and turned to Diana.
You know, if I wanted someone other than Miguel,
she put her hand on Diana's waist, above her hip.
I would definitely prefer.
She gently pulled her towards her, and Diana let herself go, completely unable to stop or resist.
A woman.
Their bodies pressed together. Ricardo was open-mouthed. The whole gallery was suspended, as the nightclub had been, all eyes on them. Diana held her breath.
Like you.
Their lips barely touched, so lightly that almost nobody noticed the kiss. Tears rolled down Diana's eyes, smudging her heavy makeup. Lilith let her go.
Well, not like you. Maybe a woman with more life. With more world experience. Maybe someone worthwhile, not so utterly hollow and driven by personal interests. Maybe a woman with a good heart.
Tears streamed down Diana's face as she listened to this. Lilith turned to me.
Darling, have you talked everything out with her?
Yes, darling. I think we've said everything to each other.
Then let's leave them.
She hugged me and we moved away from them. We continued as if nothing had happened. Ricardo stayed where he was, astonished by what he had witnessed, perhaps amazed at how he had been ignored. Diana, after a few moments of immobility, hurried out of the room, making sure not to look at anyone. Gradually, the atmosphere returned to normal and the attention on us faded away. You were cruel.
I was being a woman.
I laughed. It was obvious what she meant. Yes, she had been mostly a woman. For a moment, I thought you were going to take Ricardo with you and steal him.
You know, that wouldn't have much meaning. I wouldn't be stealing something that is hers anyway.
What do you mean?
To Ricardo, she is just a good lay, an easy conquest, but when he gets tired, she'll be easily replaceable. He will be with her as long as he wants what she had to give and as long as a more appealing alternative doesn't appear. For her, Ricardo is just a means to an end. He means nothing.
I agree with you. In fact, I told her that before we joined you.
I see. But you know, you say I was cruel, but maybe not so much. In a way, I might even have been merciful.
Why?
Because now she has everything in her hands. I think she realized a lot today, but above all, she realized that she has to change. And if she does, then I was merciful. If she insists on following the path she has followed so far, then I was cruel to her. But not to the rest of the world.
The truth of her words was clear, undeniable, really. Did you know Diana would be here today?
Well, Miguel, Do you think so?
There are no coincidences, right? I mean, with you there are no coincidences. She smiled.
Who knows, Miguel? But one thing I know.
What?
You're different. Inside, you're different. You're more like who you used to be.
And what do you know about who I used to be?
I know a lot, Miguel.
I didn't doubt it, and thought it best not to ask more. I might not have been ready yet for the answers.